Hi, I'm Larry with Larry's Political Point of View. I wanted to talk to you this afternoon about foreign policies and how my views on it. And we're going to talk about President Trump's point of view of it and Biden's point of view, how I see both parties. And I'm also going to give you my view of how I see foreign policy. There's a debate right now in Congress about splitting up bills to give aid out to Ukraine, Israel, and other countries that are needing our help. I don't think that Congress Republican Party is doing a favor for our country when there's so much bickering and fighting going on in any type of bill that they're doing, foreign policy as well. They are only a small majority in the Republican Party, but they're making the whole party in Congress not well and on stuff. Breaking up the bills is fine. Excuse me, allergies. So here's how I see things. It's fine that you split up the bills and put them in small portions, but because you have a view on a bill, you need to discuss it and go through the appropriate channels. And then when it's on the table to be put out for a vote, there needs to be further discussions. Now, I have an independent view of things that I tend to lean towards the Republican Party. But these last few years, I have stepped away from that and took a more of an independent voice and look on things. Some things I disagree with the Democratic Party, and some things I do. Some way with the Republican Party. But what's going on right now in our foreign policies bills are troublesome for me. Ukraine is definitely needing our help. They're in war with Russia right now. Our NATO partners are also giving aid to them and giving what they need. And there are MAGA that are supporter of Trump that are also supportive of Putin. They like the power of things, and they like the dictatorship of things, and strong leaders attitude and stuff. But here is my issue with that. Ukraine needs our help. We need to support them. We do need to set a budget yearly, and Ukraine needs to get off and get this war figured out and close it out. I think the sooner that Ukraine and Russia sits down and start going into discussions, I do believe the United States be involved because we've given money to them, and I think NATO needs to be involved too, and things. But I first think that Ukraine and Russia leaders need to sit down and have a serious discussion before the NATO and United States steps in and finalizes things. The reason why I think that's important is because I think Ukraine already knows that it's going to lose some territories. But there needs to be fine line to it. And like I talked about in my last video, when Ukraine and Russia gets together and whatnot, and the United States steps in, we're going to tell Russia, look, this is something that you need to know. You attack Ukraine again after this, we're going to step in, and we're going to put boots on the ground. And because of this, Ukraine, if we lose a soldier in your lands to help defend in your land, there will be a base built, and you're going to be paying for it. And Russia, you don't like this, then don't attack Ukraine. Leave it alone. Do it humanely way. Putin is KGB, and he thinks that what he wants goes. And as he gets older, he's going to get ornerier. That's just how they were taught and trained. That's what he grew up in doing. That's why he's a dictator in Russia right now. You have to deal with him in that regards. If you don't want a base near Russian motherland, then you need to get clear right away that you're going to leave Ukraine alone. I also believe that with Israel, we need to defend Israel. But Israel is making some decisions right now that are showing, as well as the right side of the party, which is setting up dictatorship, strong leader, and they're going to cause a war. And I don't think that the United States needs to be in that war. I think that we need to step out. If you're going to send missiles back to Iran, because you got to answer back. There are different ways of answering them back and I talked about it before in my last video. Secure the border. Secure their trading routes. You'll get their attention, I promise. We've done it before. We can do it again. They will come to the table. They will negotiate, and they will come out of it just fine. Israel starts a war, they're on their own. We shouldn't be giving them aid or anything. In fact, we need to be telling them, don't ask for us for help. We warned you, we told you, this is what's going to happen. Now you're going to have to deal with it. And if it does get out of control, then maybe we can send aid to them. But they need to learn a lesson, just like Iran needs to learn a lesson, just like Russia needs to learn a lesson. Right now, today I watched a video, it was translated from Russia. The women there are getting tired of this war. And the last time the women turned against him when it came to Afghanistan, and they put pressure on Putin ended up changing his mind, because you don't want to piss off that whole region. You don't want to piss off the daughters and the mothers. They will put an end to it, and they gave him a time limit, a year. And this is the thing that I don't understand. Why don't the national news talk about this stuff? I get that there's a trial right now with Trump, and I get that there is Biden's issues as well. I get all that, and that is newsworthy, but you don't always have to focus on that. You got all day. You got 12 hours and even 16 hours to talk about different things and what's going on and whatnot. We're this close of going into a war that we all don't want. And I think that if Israel gets in there and whatnot, they're the one going to have to deal with the issues. Now, what are they doing to beat Hezbollah and attacking West Bank? I'm all for that. And the reason why I'm for that is because Hezbollah went into Israel, invaded Israel to go after, and they still have some of our men and women holding them. They need to be released. Biden needs to get off of his doofus and do something about it. Yes, you're providing aid for them so that kids don't and women don't suffer. But there's something else I need you guys to be aware. They've already lost 5% of their population. Over half of their population has been uprooted and moved, and their homes lost. That country is demolished and whatnot. And I get what Hezbollah did, and they're going after that, but you got to kind of do it where you don't wipe out the whole population. And I believe that's what Israel's doing, and that's what I'm against. I'm all for going after Ebola, but I'm against you wiping out a whole population and demolish it to the city. That's what Russia is doing to Ukraine, and we said that was wrong. So if that's wrong, then it should be wrong what Israel's doing to West Bank. We have the best technology and we have the best spy system in the world. CIA isn't there just to be an agency. They are doing their job. We can rely on our intelligence and provide that to Israel and go after the members and go after the leaders. Those are the ones that you gotta go after, not killing everybody else in the meantime. Kids and women and children are being killed on a high rate. 188,000 women and children have been killed. 23,000 kids are starving right now. Literally starving. And that's a problem for me. When women and children and the population gets wiped out, that's not a war. That's a manicure. That's a totally disaster wipeout. And it should not be allowed. There's going to be charges coming after this war is done, this battle's done, and I'm afraid that some of the Israel leaders are going to be charged with it and whatnot, and they're going to be isolated in Israel, and I believe that because of what they're doing. Same way we've already filed charges against Putin and what he's done and whatnot. He can never ever leave his country, because if he does, he's going to be arrested and dealt with and whatnot. Putin's days are numbered. I think the Prime Minister of Israel numbers are numbered too. We got to remember too, this is the same guy that has charges against him, and he politically got out of it and whatnot. And I bet that there was some shady stuff going on. I'm all for supporting Israel and whatnot and protecting Israel, but what I'm not for is what they're doing right now. And I think because of this, after they're done and get out, they're going to have to pay for West Bank to be rebuilt back. And I think that that's part of the foreign aid that we're going to have to do and give them so they can have their borders back. Now, how do I look at things domestically, foreign aid? So this is how I look at things. If a country like, say, Iraq, Desert Storm 1 and 2, we have to go in and help to secure them and give them freedom and whatnot, and our allies go in and help, then they're going to have to understand one thing. Because our military is coming in to help you out. There will be a base built. There is no negotiation. And you're going to have to understand that you're going to pay for this base, why it's here. We're going to send our military men and women at this base to keep the peace in the region. That should have gone to Afghanistan. We should never left Afghanistan the way it was. We were there 20 years. But if we put a base there and had everything else cleared out, we can come back in if we have to. Well, you have to keep our foot in the ground in the area to keep the peace. Afghanistan right now is coming out with terrorists and ICE, and they're forming there and whatnot. And you got Pakistan doing the same thing. And what's going to happen is, and later in life, I probably within the next 5 years, we're going to have to go back in there and straighten things out. Put a base in there. It's going to keep the peace. It's going to bring harmony to the country, and believe it or not, it's going to bring wealth in the region and stuff. It puts pressure on Iran and whatnot. We're at the point we're going to have to really seriously squeeze the borders of Iran and their trade routes and stop it and put them in a bind. We can put all these other conditions on them and whatnot, but is it really working? I mean, look at Russia. Like I said before, it's not working. We don't put our military around the border. That's not what I'm saying. What I am saying is using our technology, using our men and women in it, and stopping the trade routes, stopping the ships going into and the airfare planes going into that country, stopping the border, stopping the trade routes, then they're not able to get anything. And then when that happens, then they are going to, the people in that country is going to say, we can't live like this. My kids and women are going to starve and whatnot. And that's when the riot comes up. That's when we're putting pressure on Iran and say, okay, you want to come to the table. This is what we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about how you see things, and then you're going to listen to us, and we're going to come in the middle like we did before. And then you're going to allow UN to come in and check to make sure that when you are producing energy for your country, that's what it's for. You're not going to be producing nukes and stuff like that, and you're going to allow this to happen. And Kamala leaders don't like it, or Hezbollah don't like it, tough diddly and whatnot. If we end up going into Iran, there has to be understanding. And there's a reason for it. We're going to put a base in your area and your country. You're going to pay for it, and you're going to leave it alone. Our citizens should be paying for that base to set things straight and keep the peace in the region. But it's going to be there now, and it will be there forever. We did that with South Korea. We did that with World War II. There were bases in Germany. We have bases all over the world, Philippines, because our men and women there, if they're going to die in that country defending them and helping them out, then and keep the peace in the region, we're going to have to put a base there and whatnot. Now, there can be times where we can say, okay, we're going to have a base here, and after 200 years or after 100 years, we're going to turn this over. But if the region doesn't have peace and there's still write-ups going on and whatnot, and we still have terrorists going on and whatnot, we're going to stay. We should have stayed in a base in Iraq. I don't mind us leaving, but having a base there. Same way with Afghanistan. Iran wouldn't be doing what they're doing right now is because of the base was there and whatnot. Believe it or not, we have a base in Turkey. A lot of people don't know that, but we do. It's a small base, but we have a base there. Now, Turkey's asked us to leave, but UN said no, and our allies have not allowed that to happen. We have a base in Poland, and we train with the Polands for that, and that's why Russia is so afraid of NATO, is because of that reason. There's a reason why we got to trust our leaders and what they're doing and whatnot. I remember when President Trump said that he would trust our generals, but when it came down to it, he didn't trust our generals. He said he was smarter than our generals. No. He was never in the military. He never had a military experience. And when he says that about our veterans, that really makes me upset. Our generals are there for a reason. And I have known a couple of friends here recently, and I was talking to them, and out of my church that I go to, and one of them was a colonel in the Marine Corps, and I got to speak to him, and you could tell by his experience he's dealt with a lot, and he's done some investigations that he doesn't want to talk about, but he was involved in it, and it was in South America when that happened and whatnot. So we don't want to police the world, but we need to have a foot in the world. That's my view of our trades and our views on foreign policies. Is simple and indirect. We have them in place for a reason. There's a lot of people that don't trust our government. I mean, I think that's why the Republican Party is voting with they are, but it's turning into be a jungle mess and whatnot. The Republicans don't trust the Democrats, and the Democrats don't trust the Republican Party. Well, I'm sorry, but we're Americans, and that has got to come first. I believe in American first. Well, that's that too. We're all Americans. We're not divided, and we're not wanting this or that. We're all Americans, and we all can come to an agreement. That's how the Congress works. That's how the Senate works. And we need to put leaders in there that can do that and establish that. And then when they're doing foreign aid, the way they're doing right now, and breaking it up and whatnot, I'm all for it. That means things are going to get done. They'll be equal. Everybody will have a voice. But when a Republican Party in Congress says they're not going to work with the Democrat Party, Taylor Greene and others, then you need to resign immediately and allow someone else to come in and work with the Democrat Party as well as the Republican Party. I will be happy and truthful whatever decisions you guys come up together and pass a bill. That's how things are run. You don't want to work with the Democratic Party, then why in the hell are you in there? Sorry, but you don't need to be in there. You're there to work with both parties. You're there to represent your area that you have been voted in for, but that means you're there to support the people, and you're there to come up with a reasonable agreement between the two parties. It's like I said earlier, I lived in the cities and I lived out in the country. Two different worlds. But it's funny, as Americans in each state, to come out with a regional way how to handle things. I think the abortion issue should be, I used to believe that it should be a state decision, and when it was changed to the state, I was all for it. But now, after seeing the mess and how things are going and how women are just being treated and whatnot, no, it needs to be federal, not state. And I'm pro-life, but that doesn't mean it needs to be voted on. It needs to be put up to the people to vote on, and then let it be. You're going to pass a law, let it to be up to the people to decide. If they decide that this is a woman's right and it's a woman's choice, then leave it alone. The law was passed, move on. There are different things that we can focus on. Our Second Amendment rights need to be left alone. I personally used to hunt when I was younger, and I fish all the time. I don't want no one coming in and removing my rights. It's the same way with the women's rights. We, as Christians, forget that there are other faiths in this country. Our fathers did not base our country upon Christian values. It was based on freedom of religion. That means all religion, and they're welcome here. Now, I am a Christian, and I go to a Christian church, and I believe that we have that value and that we need to influence everyone else and come to that point. But I also believe that there's freedom of religion, and we need to support that. And we need to allow other people who come to this country to have that freedom. I don't want it to be one religion. Look what England did, and did it work out? No, a lot of people came here because they wanted the freedom of religion. And that's what it means. And my next video will be on freedom of religion and why, and free of liberty. And I think that's why it's so important and whatnot. But this evening, we're talking about foreign policies. And that's how I believe it. I believe helping out our NATO members, but they got to pay their share. I believe helping out third world countries that are struggling, getting them under control. We talked about South America and why I believe that. I believe that we need to go after the drug cartel, and you gotta go after the problem, not just a wall. That's not the problem. The drugs are the problem. We have thousands and thousands of Americans dying every day from drug overdose and being sent off to prison for a long time, and not having the welfare of helping them and getting them retrained in their brain. It's called thinking errors. We can reprogram people in the right direction by giving them the education that they need, but they've got to want it. We can give them the tools, but if they don't want to use it, then there's no reason why to give them the ability to do so. The resources. That's men and women in the field that work it every day. There has to be a class that they take as they're coming out. They need to have that support. When you drop a felon off in a city or a small town and whatnot, they got to have things in place. A probation or parole officer are there to make sure they're flying right, but they don't give them the resources that they need to help them. And I believe that we need to help them find a job. We need to help them find a trade that they can do and work on their own. And they can build up from that and then have something that they can believe on and whatnot. We have situations going on here, and we have countries that are needing our help, and we need to be America and do that what we need to and whatnot. That's why we have a budget every year and whatnot. When things are bad, we need to tighten the strings. But when we're having a good economy and things are doing good and whatnot, I believe not only the poor and the mid class, but I also think that the rich needs to help out, and we can help the third world countries. I'm going to point something out to you. Thailand used to be considered a third world country. Now they're considered a second world country because the leaders in that country decided to work together to prosper. And they're helping their neighbor countries out too, a lot. And it's very pressing. Do you know what Thailand means in English? The land of the free. Look it up. Exactly what it means. They are able to help out their neighbors and become a strong country. But Bangkok is one of the greatest cities in Thailand, but there's other things that are going on and whatnot. Their leaders are helping the poor make sure they have food, and the elderly are taken care of and whatnot. There are some in the streets are begging and whatnot, and they don't have a follow-up system, but that country is working on it. We can give them leadership and we can help them out and whatnot. They want to join NATO as well. What do you think China and Russia are going to do if they join NATO? They're going to fight it all the way. They're going to be upset. But that's part of putting the pressure on the right people. And when you do that and you bring them to the table, we're not asking them to become westernized. We're asking them to be human beings and treat human beings as human beings. And that is my foreign policy. And that's how I see it. is helping out other countries, forming NATOs, forming partnerships, and helping other people out. We got Africa people that are just starving and dying and whatnot, and children. We're in a world that we are blessed with the nations in this country that are wealthy, and that we should be helping out these second and third world countries so that the children can grow up understanding what freedom is, and peace, and loving people worldwide. We have millions and millions of people that want to do that. They want a country that will be able to help out other countries and other people. Thinking about it or not, it doesn't matter if you're black, brown, yellow, white. We're all human beings, and we need to treat our human beings as that. And when we can get to that, then you'll see racism go away. You'll see a lot of things go away, because every time we do something good, it feels good. When we do something bad, then it feels exactly that. It's bad. And bad is evil. And we don't need to have that. We don't. It's my stronger belief to have footprint in this world and leave it behind for the children to see how positive things are and how rich they are, because they have neighbors that are human beings, that we can care for them and love them. That was what foreign policy is about. When we have a country that pushes pressure on another country and goes to war with them, that's nothing but chaos, especially when the war is based upon a lie. Russia and Ukraine, that's all nothing but lie and whatnot. We show them love and curious and kindness and supportive. They're going to learn over time that we're all human beings, and we need to take care of our human beings. I appreciate it if you listen to my stories. Give me a thumbs up, subscribe, and let's make a better planet. Let's make a better countries. And let's help out people see what freedom is about, and religion, and dark democracy, and what it really stands for. Let's make the earth a better place by doing this. Thank you very much. This is Larry with Larry's Political Point of View. Bye.